Hey LeGrand Alive! Welcome to your weekly news-ish roundup. I'm Will Bowman and we are the Tie Guys, bringing you the news every week from LeGrand Alive. Alex, what's in our news today?
Today in the news, we're talking about the new clock on Adams Avenue, Kaza of Eastern Oregon for our Grand Charity Countdown, new episode of The Bob and Kelly Show, some special brieflies.
Only on your weekly news-ish roundup, brought to you by these, our sponsors. Many older people who have lived in the Grand for a while now have probably asked themselves this question: what happened to the clock? In the 1960s, there was an old wind-up clock tower on Adams Avenue, and then it suddenly went away. Well, now it's back right there on Adams, and we produced this package to answer the question of what is the clock, where did it go, and how did it get to where it is now for anyone who might be interested to know.
Have you noticed the new clock on Adams Avenue? The one across from Joe Bean's Coffee and outside of City Hall? Well, it's actually not new. It's very, very old. But to understand what this clock means to us today, we have to take a trip way back in time. In the early 1900s, Dr. George and Jean Burney moved from Canada to LeGrand, Oregon, and started a jewelry store. At their jewelry store, they sold jewelry, watches, and spectacles. And when they moved, they brought with them a large cast iron clock, the original of the one you see standing there today. The business passed to the Hughes family in 1965, but the Hughes family didn't get to enjoy the clock for very long. In the 1970s, Adams Avenue was still being used by large shipping trucks to transport supplies through LeGrand. And in the middle of the night, one of these trucks parked near the clock. In those days, roads were higher in the center and lower on the sides, and on this particular night, the side of the truck sticking out caught the top of the clock and brought it crashing down. The Hughes were called and they took the top of their clock to the farm, where it sat under a tree for many, many years. The base remained on Adams Avenue close to where it sits, restored today. Now, fast forward to 2015, meet Matt Orthman. Matt is a local iron worker. Matt heard about the clock and took an interest in gathering up the pieces eventually to be restored.
So a friend came to me a couple years ago and asked me if I could restore the tower that was sitting outside of Allstate, which it used to be Bernie's Jewelry. Basically, it sat in here in my shop from that time until we started actually working on the project.
Fast forward another year to 2016 and meet Christine Jarsky. Christine is the director of urban renewal in LeGrand. When she came on board as the director, she decided to make the project of restoring the clock her own as a part of the LeGrand Streetscape project.
This thing is massive. I mean, the frame weighs like 350 pounds. It's huge. And part of that was rusted and part of it was still in really good condition.
Well, I thought the clock tower looked bad. And when I saw this, man, it looked literally like I was resurrecting something from the dead. I was gonna have to. And so, I mean, there was jagged edges, stuff busted out, and then, like I said, just years of like the wood that was on the inside just rotted and mud and bird's nest and everything. So it just looked like, oh my gosh, where did we find this space shuttle that crashed here a million years ago and we just unearthed it? Like, what is this thing?
First, he cleaned it out, removing all the rust, drilling and tapping out the screws, cleaning up the old materials that were well worn from years of sitting under a tree. After this, he began to restore it piece by piece. He reforged the cast iron door, filled the cracks in the base, recreated from scratch many of the lost pieces, including the acanthus leaves that adorn the work, and so much more.
If they erected the Titanic from the depths and they rebuilt it, I mean, can you imagine? I mean, obviously much smaller scale, but it's a historic piece that has beauty, and there would be such a huge responsibility for the people working on it to do it justice, to make it just like the original or better.
And finally, after nearly a year of labor, on October 25th, 2018,
3! Yay!
There's just really a lot of care and respect for this item. The Hughes family, when they talk about it, they're very emotional. There's a strong attachment to this iconic structure, and I think a lot of our citizens are going to have that same attachment.
This is a historic piece. It's worth a lot, not only monetarily, but to a lot of people, as far as just emotionally, their attachment to it. And then finally seeing it put up, and seeing people across the city come together, and that have come together to bring it to its completion. There's going to be, a whirlwind of emotions, but pride, the relief.
People in LeGrand, that has always been one of the things. What happened to the clock? Where is the clock? So now we can say it's in City Hall. I think it's a closing.
So, for those of you who have been around for a while, now you know what happened to the clock. And for you who are new to LeGrand like me, now you know what the clock is and what it means to LeGrand. For LeGrand Alive, I'm Will Bowman.
A couple of other things to note about the clock. The clock is still wind-up and has to be wound about every 7 days. Also, the clock glows in the dark at night, so it can still be seen, and the color of the glow can be changed based upon the season.
A big shout out to Christine Jarsky, Matt Orthman, and Betty Hughes for letting us interview them for this project. This story was brought to you by
This week on the Grand Charity Countdown, we learned about Court-Appointed Special Advocates of Eastern Oregon. CASA's Union County Program Manager, Wendy Seimer, dropped by the studio to tell us what this organization is all about.
CASA is Court-Appointed Special Advocates, and we are volunteers who are well-trained and appointed by the court to represent children who are brought into care for abuse and neglect. And so you provide them a voice. So as a CASA advocate, you offer children a voice and kind of help them navigate the court system, make sure that their needs are being met and that they're being well cared for.
Wendy told us about real day-to-day work of a court-appointed special advocate, or CASA for short.
So you do a lot of investigative work and reading resources and things like that on children. And then you meet with your child on a monthly basis. And I do a lot of visits at schools with kids and spend time with them, just spending time with them. Sometimes we'll just do a craft project and kind of check, see how they're doing, and getting the physical eyes on them to be sure that they're doing well.
And with a diverse array of family arrangements in Eastern Oregon, it may be easy for many of us to miss the needs of abused, neglected children in our community. Wendy assured us that CASA does fill a vital role for many Union County children.
It's a big need. We have about 40 children in Union County who are in care because of abuse and neglect. And we have limited foster homes, so we're certifying a lot of families to have their children, grandparents, aunts, and uncles to care for the children. And it's great for them to have a neutral voice, somebody who isn't completely tied to the family, and is aware of the situation, but somebody that can be a neutral party that can give them a voice. And that's important for children that are navigating. We have a lot of our children are younger, nonverbal, and so it's just important to have somebody else's eyes on them to make sure that what is happening in their best interest is occurring.
Court-appointed special advocates are always needed, but there are many other ways you can help fill needs for this organization.
We've implemented a couple different signature events in Union County. So we have our Mother and Son Night of Fun that we do in March. And we welcome volunteers to help with those things. We have, taking tickets, helping to decorate, helping with food. We have a CASA Carnival that we've done it for 3 years now in August. 2 years, I'm sorry. We'll have our third, we're already planning for this year. In August at Riverside, and we have people come and run booths for that. It's just kind of a good old-fashioned fun carnival. So we have a lot of stuff like that people can help volunteer with. We also have one of the local church groups helps with coats and socks and things like that, and so we get those put together for kids. So a lot of stuff, delivery things, maybe providing things at the DHS office to get to families. Things like that. We're getting ready to put together some foster family baskets for Christmas, and so we're looking for game donations and things like that. People, if they want to donate for night-in type of things for the families, things like that. There's lots of things with CASA that you can volunteer to do other than just advocating for a child.
If you're interested in learning more or getting involved with CASA, you can visit them on their Facebook page. This story was brought to you by And now it's time for another episode of The Bob and Kelly Show.
Hey, thanks for tuning in again to LeGrand Alive. I'm Bob, and this is not
Sherry.
Kelly. This is Sherry. Kelly couldn't make it today. This is Sherry. By the way, Sherry, you're quite the beautiful woman, I must say. Whew, yes.
Careful, I'm married.
This is my wife, who I get to hang out with today. So thank you for being on the show.
You're welcome.
Okay, Merry Christmas to you guys. Now, that may seem a little early. It's not quite December. However, if you were to check the calendar, you can't believe all the Christmas things going on. But there's one sign, one symbol that you know it's Christmas time. You know what it is?
What?
It's the Christmas cactus. The Christmas cactus
my
is
land.
blooming. You don't see
That
this
is
very often,
gorgeous.
but yep, Christmas cactus. So we know
Wow.
it's Christmas time. So with that said, we got to talk about a lot of things going on for Christmas. And the first thing is all the things to do in our county for Christmas. Have you seen the bazaars, the events, the open houses, the after hours, the Christmas teas, the Christmas coffees, the Christmas cakes, the Christmas houses, the Christmas trees? I'm out of breath.
You missed parades.
Parade and Sing Santa and all that good stuff and church stuff. So are you going to hit this stuff? Are you going to go hit the bazaars?
Well, at least one, if not all of them.
Yay! Christmas time. So be sure to check the Go Magazine's Facebook page, the Go Magazine's website, the app, or the hard copy edition you can get in all the restaurants, or check the Union County Chamber of Commerce. We've got all those listed as well. And speaking of one, I got to tell you about a success story. Arts Center East. Yes, Arts Center East. Did you hear what happened to them when it came to their handmade holiday bazaar? Did you hear?
No.
All right, so Arts Center East, congratulations. This is a gift to our community. This is an art community, and they turned out in a big way. They had a big bazaar, an open house type thing where they sold a bunch of handmade gifts. They made $21,000
Woohoo!
from this event. Yeah, it was
That's
huge.
awesome.
So congratulations, Arts Center East, for that. I think that says a lot about our community. We love Christmas. We love
Yes, we
Christmas.
do.
All right. So the second thing I want to go over is this Union, this town of Union, city of Union, as you know, is having their parade and their tree lighting ceremony.
Yes.
That is this Sunday night, starts at 5 o'clock.
Yep.
Something too about hot chocolate, maybe seeing Santa, something going on with that?
All kinds of fun.
Okay.
Yep.
We probably are going to be at that
We
one too.
should be.
All kinds of Christmas stuff happening. So Union, thank you, the town of Union, for all you do for our county. All right, the next thing. Let's go into festival trees.
I love the Festival of Trees.
Oh man, the Seroptimus Club. Okay, if you don't know who they are, you got to look these guys up. The Seroptimus Club
These
is.
gals.
Sorry, did I say guys?
Gals.
I
Yeah.
said guys. That was a big mistake.
Yeah.
The ladies of the Seroptimus Club host this thing called Festival of Trees. You may have heard about it. It happens every year. They do a big fundraiser and they auction off these beautiful trees. Businesses and organizations donate a tree.
Yeah.
They decorate it, and I am telling you, they're unlike trees you've ever seen. You got to have a ticket to get into this. And so anyway, that's coming up this weekend. If you are wondering about that, you can get a hold of us here or the Seroptimus Club to see if there are any tickets available. I don't know if there are. It's going to be kind of tough. But congratulations, Seroptimus. Looking forward to a big event up at the Blue Mountain Conference Center. All right, now, Festival Trees, we got that. Arts Center East, we got that. Union, we got that. All the things to do. Now, let's talk about some happenings that are going on. The big question we get here, and you know this because this is one of your favorite things, is buying local, shopping local. We've got a local grocery store called
Yep.
Family Fresh Foods. Foods, family, and fresh. Fresh.
FFF.
Fresh is all over this thing, and they've got some pretty crazy ideas. I actually had a time to sit down and talk with Al Addisberger, who is one of the key guys behind this grocery store. Phenomenal guy, loves our community, but he was sharing some of these ideas. Did you know there's going to be a place where you can go into the vegetable and fruit section, and you can say, I'd like that chopped up for me so I can cook it tonight. You don't have to chop it up.
What?
There's like this chopping center, a chopping center to
Nice.
have your groceries processed.
Nice.
So it's going to be cool. So that's the question is, when does it open? I am told in March. So what we're looking forward to,
Okay.
March. So now you can
All
get
right.
all our groceries done there in March.
Okay.
All right. Then the last thing I want to go over is the bowling alley. We get a
Yeah.
bunch of calls. We've talked about this. We met with Darren Kiesucker, a local hero, by the way. And Darren, thank you, if you're watching, for all that you do and what you've gone through to get this bowling alley dialed in. Here's some cool news. Now, there have been a couple hang-ups, nothing too serious, but the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce met with Darren to brainstorm how we can support him, how we can come alongside. There's going to be an opportunity for the community to buy into the bowling alley. Your name could live forever on the bowling alley wall. Did you know that?
I'm on it.
Okay, so it's about buying a brick, and we're going to talk more about that next week at the next show. There's another thing for businesses. Businesses, you can have your name put on a bowling ball
What?
forever.
That's cool.
Yes, it's very cool, and I am personally very excited about it. And I think we should figure out a way to buy a bowling ball. Get our name on a bowling ball.
Yeah, for our
Okay.
business.
For our business.
Because we do own a small
We do
business.
have a small business too. So good things going on. Hang on, we'll have more next week about that too. So anyway, so that's all we got. Anything else you want to talk about?
I think that's it, other than have a super very Merry Christmas.
A super Merry Christmas. All right, thanks for tuning in to LeGrand Alive. We'll see you next week.
This story was brought to you by And now it's time for our Briefly section. In the news, first, Nature's Pantry is hosting an event. Fight of Your Life is a panel discussion with cancer survivors and wellness professionals. The event is December 6th at 6 p.m. at Nature's Pantry.
A report released earlier this week predicts that Oregon will have a $623 million budget shortfall this year. According to the report, the state's increasing Medicaid costs due to the Affordable Care Act, increased spending on education, and increases in the salaries of state employees are to blame for the shortfall.
Want to get your photo with Santa? Bring your kids down to Northeast Oregon Physical Therapy, 301 4th Street, LeGrand to have your photo with Santa Claus. Event is December 9th from 1 to 4 p.m.
Nominations for the 2019 Oregon Heritage Excellence Awards program are now being accepted. According to an Oregon State Parks press release, the Oregon Heritage Excellence Awards recognize individuals, businesses, and organizations for outstanding efforts on behalf of Oregon heritage, drawing public attention to these efforts and raising the quality of heritage-oriented activities. Applications can be found online through the Oregon Heritage website, www.oregonheritage.org, or by contacting Oregon Heritage Coordinator Beth Den. The postmark deadline for submitting nominations is January 25th, 2019.
While Oregon's overall population is growing, Eastern Oregon still struggles to add new residents. A new report released this week by the Portland State University Population Research Center shows that while overall population of Oregon grew by 50,000, that's up 1.3% people last year, most Eastern Oregon counties are either just holding steady or are losing residents. Also, LeGrand Seroptimist is holding its annual Festival of Trees at the Blue Mountain Conference Center on Saturday, December 1st from 10 to 1 p.m. Admission cost is a donation of socks or canned goods, and you can enjoy photos with Santa Claus, Mrs. Claus's kitchen, activity tables, tree viewing, and more. More information is available on all of these stories via our Facebook page. These stories were brought to you by And that's it. That's your weekly news-ish roundup. I'm Will Bowman, and
I'm Alex McAdid.
straight answer for the first time in forever. And we are the Tie Guys, bringing you the news every week. One more big shout out to our sponsors. Please like and share the video and tune into LeGrand Alive for more local content.